At the beginning of the story, we see a boy named Mitaiya who is standing in a subway station, terrified. He feels as if he is trapped in some maze or labyrinth. No matter how many times he tries to exit through exit number 8, he always ends up back in the same spot. Each time, he sees the same man, who says nothing and simply walks calmly. Frightened, Mitaiya thinks of asking the man for directions, only to see him standing eerily right behind him, wearing a terrifying smile. Terrified, Mitaiya doesn't ask anything and runs away. Then his eyes fall on a signboard. It reads, Exit 0, but above it, another board says Exit 1. The contradiction strikes him as strange. Not once, not twice, but 100 times he tries to escape, yet every path seems like the fake, staged doors of a showroom, all false. He keeps going around in this loop repeatedly. He tries to make an emergency call, but all the intercoms are broken. His own phone has no signal either. Exhausted, he looks at a picture on the wall. It shows strange people, trapped in loops just like him, trying to escape, yet unable to get out. Seeing this, Mitaiya becomes certain he is truly stuck in a nightmare-like loop and will never be able to escape. Just then, blood strangely drips onto his face from a signboard above. In fear, instead of running forward, he runs in the opposite direction, and then he notices an incredible change. The board that once said Exit 0 now reads Exit 1, yet everything else around him remains exactly the same. On that board, some rules were also written. One of them read, If you see something unusual or different in your eyes, immediately run backward. If you see nothing unusual, continue moving toward the exit as before. Mitaiya then realized the red liquid, like blood, that had fallen on his head was the abnormal thing. That's why he had run backward. And that was exactly why he had been able to move from Exit 0 to Exit 1. Understanding this, a spark of hope ignited in his mind that he might be able to escape very soon. He now starts walking toward the exit again. Since nothing seems unusual, he keeps moving forward. But when he reaches the board that says Exit 0 again, he freezes. Where it had previously said Exit 1, it has now turned back to Exit 0. This means he made a mistake somewhere. Now he is certain. This maze is exactly like a game. One wrong move restarts it, just like in a game, and his single mistake has brought him back to the beginning. To survive, he must follow the rules of the game carefully and advance through each level with extreme caution. This time, he thinks carefully and takes out his phone. He starts taking pictures of every small detail around him so that later he can compare and spot what has changed. He even takes a picture of that strange man who kept walking past the exit over and over. Since he hasn't noticed anything unusual yet, he continues moving forward. And when he finally reaches the second exit sign, he sees the board really does say Exit 1. That means his theory was completely correct, and he has successfully cleared level 1. Now, in order to reach level 2, he knows he has to look around again and find what's different. Then he takes out his phone again, but when he checks the photos to compare, he sees all the pictures he took are soaked in blood. Not a single one is readable. That's when he realizes to win this game, he can only rely on his mind. No photos or evidence will help him here. As he's thinking this, he notices something. The man who always walked under the board below Exit 8 is now standing still in that spot. Mitaiya immediately understands. This is the difference. He has to run backward right now. But the terrifying part is, this time, that man starts following him. The terrifying thing was, the man wasn't even walking, but whenever Mitaiya glanced back, the man was standing right behind him. Frightened, Mitaiya ran and ran, but then he stumbled and fell. When he got up, he saw he had reached the board that said Exit 0, and now it displayed 2. The man who had been following him was gone. This meant he had successfully cleared level 2. Now his confidence grew even more. He began paying closer attention, trying to remember every detail around him and spot any changes. As he wandered through the maze again, he heard the sound of a child crying from inside a locker. Terrified, he opened the locker, and what he saw inside froze him with horror. The story doesn't show the scene explicitly, but Mitaiya's reaction made it clear it was extremely frightening. In fear, he ran backward, escaping as fast as he could, and in this way, he also cleared level 3. The board at Exit 0 now displayed 3. He thought only 2 levels remained. After that, he would reach the corridor and finally escape this nightmare. He started walking carefully down the corridor again. As he walked, he felt Someone was watching him. He looked at a picture and held it up to his phone. Suddenly, the people in the picture turned their eyes and stared directly at him. Terrified by this, he quickly ran backward to escape. At that exact moment, the exit board changed from 2 to 4. This meant he had successfully cleared level 4. Mitaiya felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was very happy. He had already won more than half the game. But at the same time, he was terrified because he knew one small mistake could send him back to the very beginning. He began wandering toward exit 1 again. As he moved through the corridor, suddenly his phone rang. On the screen, he saw a call from his girlfriend. It felt strange to him because just a few days ago, they had decided to break up. As soon as he answered the call, his girlfriend told him Mitaiya was going to be a father, but the decision was entirely his. If he wanted to keep the child, the girl would be willing to come back to him. Hearing this, Mitaiya felt a shiver deep inside. He remembered an incident from a few days ago. The day he was on the train, a small child was crying. A man yelled at the child, and her mother, Mitaiya, had wanted to protest, to stand by the mother and child, but inside him, he didn't even have the courage to say a word to that man. Now he began to think, how could a man who couldn't even stand up for a child take responsibility for his own child? He became completely confused. At that exact moment, he hung up the call, but as soon as he did, the board that had previously shown 4 changed back to 0. He had made a big mistake. He already knew. Mobile signals didn't normally work inside this maze, so his girlfriend's call should never have come. Instead, it had been the biggest change of all, and he hadn't noticed it. He didn't run backward. As a result, instead of clearing the level, he was sent back to 0 points. After finishing half the game, realizing he had to start all over again, he collapsed completely in despair. He sat down and began screaming loudly. He needed to finish the game, but now he had no motivation left inside him. Yet, with numb legs, he began walking again. But this time, he couldn't see any differences at all in the maze. As he wandered through the corridor, he saw a child. He thought, this must be the change, so he quickly ran backward. But when he checked the board, the number was still 0. That meant the child was not a change. The truth was, that child, just like Mitaiya, was also trapped in the maze and was searching for a way out. Then he saw again the man in the suit and boots, who often appeared walking past him. This time, Mitaiya realized that man was not part of the maze either. Rather, like him and the child, he was trapped here as well, and he was also looking for a way to escape. Then we see the man and the child were moving together as a team. They repeatedly saw a girl in the maze, someone who never tried to escape. The man asked her, "Why don't you want to get out of here?" Then the girl replied, "Every day I get pushed around on the train. I have to go to work. Life is so hard. I don't think I need to go back to that harsh life. Here, I feel much more at peace." She was saying these words, but gradually, her voice began to change. She kept repeating the same sentences over and over, the very ones she had just said moments ago. Her voice grew heavier, sounding almost like a man's voice. Seeing this, the man realized this was no longer normal. This was an abnormal change. Immediately, he grabbed the child and ran backward, toward the backside board. Then it was seen. Their exit board now displayed 6. This meant they had come extremely close to winning the game. A minute later, they once again scanned the entire maze, and now had to figure out what exact change had occurred in this round. They tried again to find the change. Once more, they saw the girl standing nearby, but she wasn't speaking to anyone, completely silent. Meanwhile, the child noticed that the door handles were strangely installed in reverse. The child tried to explain this to the adult, but the man completely ignored him and pulled him forward. This small mistake, this tiny act of ignorance, ruined their entire game. The exit board began showing 0 again. This meant the man had lost the game, and everything had been reset. The man collapsed, screamed in frustration, but escaping was urgent, so he composed himself again, took the child's hand, and began walking through the maze anew. The interesting thing, this time, he saw a path leading upward. As soon as he saw the stairs, he became extremely happy. He climbed up, hoping to escape, but the child tried to warn him. "This is a trap. This isn't normal. This is the change. We need to go back." According to the rules, going backward was the correct move, but the adult ignored the child's warning. He climbed the stairs straight up, and because of this mistake, he became trapped inside the maze forever. Meanwhile, the child ran toward the exit board and saw that it now displayed 1, not 0. This meant the child had made the right decision. The child was indeed correct. The person who could not find a way out now realized that he would remain trapped on those stairs forever. The story then returns to Mitaiya, who had first seen the child. Mitaiya now understands that this child and that man had previously been together as a team, playing the maze together. Seeing the child alone, Mitaiya realized that the man had probably abandoned him. He felt very bad for the child. Now the child became Mitaiya's companion, and Mitaiya quickly noticed that the child's IQ was extremely sharp. Even the smallest changes were immediately noticed by him. Using the child's skills, they easily passed the first level, and then the second level as well. Now, while they were navigating the maze to clear the third level, suddenly the lights started flickering. The cries of children and the strange sounds of rats all together made the environment utterly terrifying. When Mitaiya turned on his phone's torch, he saw that the suited man was standing ahead in a frightening posture. Terrified, he immediately grabbed the child's hand and ran backward. And right at that moment, he realized they had already passed another level. All these events were intended only to test them, to frighten them, nothing more. Then they started walking through the maze again for the next level. Suddenly, a woman appeared ahead. Mitaiya immediately realized that this woman was also an abnormality, that is, a wrong element, and they needed to turn back immediately. But the child started crying and wanted to go toward the woman. He became very emotional. So Mitaiya picked him up, ran backward as fast as he could, and in this way, they cleared another level. Even though they had successfully passed so many levels, Mitaiya didn't feel happy because now he was worried about the child. The child was separated from his mother and was in great distress. Mitaiya felt a sense of responsibility. He held the child's hand tightly and promised that he would, no matter what, return him to his mother. Then they continued navigating the maze, but surprisingly, they didn't notice any changes around them. Just then, the child looked upward and saw, on the board marked Exit 8, there was now an upside-down 1. Such a small change, something an ordinary person would have easily overlooked, was instantly noticed by the child's sharp intelligence, and they quickly turned back, thus clearing level 6 as well. Now only 2 levels remained. Mitaiya knew once they passed these, he would escape the maze and return to his real world. Yet strangely, he felt deeply uneasy. As they started navigating the maze again, suddenly, from behind, a terrifying surge of water, like a raging flood, rushed toward them. Mitaiya wanted to run backward with the child, but the child slipped and fell into the rushing water. Without thinking about himself, just to save the child, Mitaiya jumped into the water. The moment he entered the water, his world seemed to transform. The scene blurred, and he saw himself on a beach by the ocean. There, beside him, was his girlfriend, and the child, who had been his companion in the maze, now appeared as his own son. Mitaiya realized being a father is not a burden, but rather a deep, beautiful feeling, a priceless bond. Just then, he felt intense pain in his body and returned to reality, to the terrifying waters of the maze. Both of them were still trapped in the raging water. Mitaiya desperately tried to lift the child and keep him above the water. Finally, he managed to place the child on top of the board labeled Exit 8, while he himself was carried away by the current into the darkness. The scene cut. A little while later, the child opened his eyes. He saw himself in a place that looked like a wasteland. He looked back and was amazed to see that he remembered every path, every rule perfectly. As he walked backward, he saw the exit board now read 7. This meant they had cleared yet another level. Now, only the final level, level 8, remained to be completed. But this time, Mitaiya was no longer by the child's side. Meanwhile, we see Mitaiya has finally reached the final level. He is astonished, but not happy. He struggles to understand, what is this, really? Is this his victory or a trap? Now he sees the stairs clearly extend forward, and people are walking on them. He is confused. Should he go back or move forward? In his confusion, he moves forward first. He takes out his phone. The phone has signal. It shows him that he has returned to the real world. He has finally been freed, and calls his friend. This time, his friend answers the call and says, "I'm ready to take on this responsibility." Mitaiya realizes he is now ready to become a father. Then he enters the metro. But strangely, Mitaiya sees everything inside the metro as if he had already seen it all before. After a while, he sees a child and the child's mother. A man is yelling at them. It is the same scene Mitaiya had seen in his thoughts before. Mitaiya looks at the people around him. Everyone is strange, busy with their phones, and his heart breaks. He realizes, once again, he has fallen into the trap of the game. He had not cleared number 7 after number 6, and it was all a trap. He is once again stuck in the same loop from which he was trying to escape. And this is how the movie ends.